Chapter 5 Merlin and Nui. Glastonbury and Morgana le Fay. Arthur and Gwen rode along a narrow road across the watery land. Merlin followed them, carrying Nimue on his horse. Merlin and Nimue were always together. They used magic to speak together without words. Merlin was in love with Nimue, and he told her many secrets. The group came to the town of Glastonbury, which stands on an island in that watery land. A high hill rose behind the town, and on that hill stood a small chapel. Next to it there stood a nunnery with high walls. Merlin and Nimue climbed the hill. At the top they met a woman who was wearing the black clothes of a nun. Her head was covered so that no man could see her face. The woman seemed to be waiting for them. "This lady is Morgana," said Nimue to Merlin. "I have learnt magic from you. Now Morgana will learn from you too." Merlin's magical powers were becoming weaker. He did not know it, but Nimue was controlling the magician's mind. Merlin did not look at Morgana, because he only thought about Nimue. He did not see that the nun was Morgana le Fay, the daughter of Galois and Igraine of Cornwall. And Merlin did not remember that Morgana was Arthur's half-sister. And so the two sorceresses, Nimue and Morgana, learnt Merlin's secrets. They took more and more of the magician's power, and Merlin gradually became old and weak. The Holy Grail. Arthur and Gwen left the nunnery and went to Glastonbury Abbey. Inside the abbey there was a well of holy water. The abbess, the woman in charge of the nunnery, showed the holy well to Arthur and Gwen. "Joseph of Arimathea brought the Holy Grail to this land," said the abbess. "He put the Grail into this well. The water from this well can heal the sick. The Grail itself can heal the land. It can stop troubles and bring peace. But the Grail was taken from us. It is not lost, it is hidden somewhere. Only the purest knight can find the Grail. He will find the Grail when there is great danger in the land." Merlin speaks to Arthur for the last time. Arthur, Gwen and Merlin rode back towards Camelot with Nimue and Morgana le Fay. Merlin spoke to Arthur. "Sire, I shall not return to Camelot," said the magician. "I am going away with Nimue and Morgana. You are king and Guinevere is queen. You must rule without my help." Arthur was troubled by Merlin's words. "Shall I never see you again?" Arthur asked. "You will never see me in this life again," answered Merlin. "But we shall both return one day. Remember, you are the once and future king. Now, goodbye. I shall see your wedding, and then I shall leave." Merlin's words made Arthur sad, but as he rode on to Camelot with Gwen, he did not think deeply about their meaning. Lancelot becomes champion of Camelot. Shortly before the Holy Week of Easter, Arthur sent for Sir Lancelot. Sir Lancelot was the strongest and most handsome of the knights of the Round Table. He always wore shining armor. "Lancelot," Arthur said, "you are my bravest knight. I now make you my champion knight. You will guard and defend everything that I love. Ride to Camelot Castle. My bride Guinevere of Camelot is waiting there. Bring Guinevere to Camelot. She and I will be married at Whitsun. Then Guinevere will be crowned queen." Lancelot smiled and bowed towards the king. "Yes, sire," he said. Then he got onto his great war horse, which was dressed in red and white cloth, and he rode away. Lancelot meets Guinevere. Lancelot's journey to Camelot took many days. At last he came to the castle where Guinevere was waiting. When he met Guinevere, he saw that she was the fairest woman in the land, and Guinevere saw that Lancelot was the fairest man. Lancelot and Guinevere rode to Camelot together, talking and laughing. Behind them rode 20 of Leodogran's finest knights. Each knight wore fine armor and fine clothes. It was the month of May, and white flowers fell from the trees onto the road. The travellers stopped and rested at a chapel where many flowers grew. Lancelot took a red rose and put it in his hair. Guinevere took a white lily and wore it on her dress. "Lady," said Lancelot, "I am your servant. I shall always serve you and no other." The marriage of Arthur and Guinevere. They came to Camelot and saw that there were many tents in the fields. Knights had come to Camelot from many parts of Logres. Each day the knights competed in jousts. They rode their war horses and fought with swords, shields, and spears. And each evening the knights ate, drank, and told stories. At Whitsun, Arthur married Guinevere. When he placed a crown upon her head, the knights and people gave a great cry. "Long live King Arthur and Queen Guinevere!" they shouted. Morgana le Fay plots the destruction of Camelot. That night, Merlin lay in his tent. With him were Nimue and Morgana. Merlin's mind was clouded and his sight was weak. He saw Morgana smile, but he did not see behind the smile. Morgana hated her half-brother Arthur because his father, Uther Pendragon, had put Morgana in a nunnery. Because Merlin had taken Arthur away from Igraine, Igraine had thrown herself into the sea. Morgana hated Merlin as well. While Merlin slept, Morgana cast 2 spells. The first spell was for Guinevere. It made Guinevere sleep in her own bedchamber and dream of Lancelot. With the second spell, she made herself look like Guinevere. Then she went to Arthur's bedchamber where Arthur was sleeping. He was dreaming of battle and wounds. He dreamt that he lost his sword Excalibur. He dreamt that nothing grew on the land. Then Morgana came to Arthur's bed and lay with him. As the sorceress lay with the king, bright lightning flashed in the sky. And when Morgana left Arthur, she whispered to her half-brother. "I will have a son," she said. "He will be like your father, Uther Pendragon. Sleep well, brother." And Arthur slept and forgot his dreams. And so Morgana brought evil and sadness to the court of Camelot, though many long years passed before anyone knew that this had happened. The Passing of Merlin. Early the next morning, Merlin left his tent. He had become an old man. He was so ill and weak that Nimue and Morgana had to help him onto his horse. Then they led the magician away from Camelot towards the north. "Merlin, I know a place where you will be young again," said Nimue. "It is a secret place in a forest. We will take you there and you can rest." "Yes, yes," said Merlin. But he did not see who spoke to him or what was near him. He did not see the trees of the great forest around him. He did not see how they had come to a secret place in the forest where a circle of tall stones stood around a low hill. On the top of the hill there was a great oak tree. Nimue and Morgana led Merlin to the tree. Then a doorway opened in the trunk of the tree. A light was burning inside. "Step inside the tree, Merlin," said Nimue. "Here you will find rest. You are old and tired. Soon you will feel young again. Here you may sleep through many centuries and dream of the world outside. Rest here until the day when you shall wake and return to the land again." Merlin stepped into the oak tree and the door closed behind him. There, inside the oak, he slept and dreamed of the world outside. "No man shall see his face again," said Morgana to Nimue. From that day, no one saw Merlin the magician again, but the people often spoke his name and told their children stories about him.